Tae-hyun stared at the woman sitting across from him in the small apartment. Her name was Hana, and she had been his wife for exactly 3 days. The morning light struggled to break through the heavy curtains she had insisted on keeping closed. He watched her pale hands fold gracefully in her lap, her movements so smooth they almost seemed unnatural. The marriage had happened so fast. His parents had called him one evening, their voices filled with excitement. The Galactic Integration Program needed volunteers. Families who participated would receive benefits, money, and prestige. Earth had joined the galaxy just 5 years ago, and everyone was still adjusting to the idea that humans were not alone in the universe. Tae-hyun had agreed mostly to make his parents happy. He was 28, an architect working on the new Interspecies Cultural Center in Seoul. His life was ordinary, maybe even boring. He never imagined that saying yes would bring an alien into his home, though Hana looked completely human. She was beautiful in a way that made people stare. Her skin was pale like fresh snow, her hair black as midnight, and her eyes were dark and deep. She spoke perfect Korean with a slight accent he could not place. Everything about her seemed normal except for the small details that kept bothering him. She never ate with him. Every morning he would make breakfast and she would politely decline. Every evening the same thing. She claimed she had a special diet due to medical conditions. She drank these strange protein shakes from sealed containers that came in unmarked boxes delivered to their door. Then there was the sunlight issue. Hana avoided it like it would burn her. She wore long sleeves even indoors, kept the curtains drawn, and only seemed comfortable after sunset. When he asked about it, she smiled and said her home planet had different light. Her skin was sensitive. She needed time to adjust. Tae-hyun tried to be understanding. This was all new for both of them. The government counselor had warned him that alien customs might seem strange. He should be patient and open-minded, but patience was becoming difficult when his wife seemed to be hiding something. On the third night, he woke up at 2 a.m. The apartment was dark and silent. He reached across the bed and found it empty. Hana was gone. He sat up listening. There were no sounds from the bathroom or kitchen. Worry crept into his chest. He got out of bed and walked quietly through the apartment. The living room was empty. The kitchen too. Then he saw light coming from under the door of the spare room. Hana had claimed it as a private space. He had respected that until now. Tae-hyun pressed his ear against the door. He heard her voice speaking in a language that sounded like music and wind and something ancient. His translator device was in the bedroom. He could not understand the words, but he heard the tone. She sounded commanding, powerful, completely different from the quiet woman who sat across from him at dinner. He backed away from the door and returned to bed. His mind raced with questions. Who was she really? What was she hiding? Should he confront her or wait for her to trust him enough to tell the truth? The next morning, strange visitors arrived. Tae-hyun was making coffee when the doorbell rang. 2 tall figures stood in the hallway. They wore dark suits that seemed to absorb light. Their faces were hidden behind visors. They did not look human, though they walked on 2 legs and had the right number of limbs. "We are here for Lady Hana," one of them said. The voice came from a translator device on their chest. It sounded mechanical and cold. Before Tae-hyun could respond, Hana appeared behind him. She moved so quietly he had not heard her approach. She spoke to the visitors in that same strange musical language. They bowed deeply, which surprised him. Then they handed her a silver case and left without another word. Who were they? Tae-hyun asked as she closed the door. Associates from home, Hana said. She carried the case to the spare room. Nothing for you to worry about, but he was worrying. He was worrying a lot. That afternoon, he helped her rearrange furniture. She wanted the heavy bookshelf moved to a different wall. He grabbed one end and pulled. It barely moved. Hana took the other end with just one hand and lifted it like it weighed nothing. She carried her side across the room while he struggled with his. "You are very strong," he said, breathing hard. She set the bookshelf down carefully. "I exercise regularly." No amount of exercise could explain what he had just seen. That bookshelf was solid wood filled with books. It must have weighed over 100 kilograms. She had lifted her half with one hand and not even broken a sweat. That evening, Tae-hyun stood in the bathroom brushing his teeth. Hana walked past the mirror behind him. He saw her reflection, but something was wrong. It appeared a fraction of a second after she passed, like the mirror was slow to catch her image. He blinked and looked again, but she was already gone. He found her in the kitchen. She was preparing one of her protein shakes. The blender was loud, covering the sound of his approach. He saw her pour thick red liquid from an unmarked bottle into the mixer. It looked too much like blood. What is that? He asked loudly. Hana jumped, actually startled for the first time since arriving. She turned to face him, and for just a moment her eyes caught the light wrong. They glowed amber like an animal's eyes in the dark. Then she blinked and they were normal again. Iron supplement, she said quickly. For my condition. What condition exactly? Taehyun stepped closer. You never eat food. You avoid sunlight. You are stronger than any human I have met. Your reflection is strange. What are you really, Hana? She looked at him for a long moment. He saw something in her eyes that might have been fear or maybe respect. Then she smiled sadly. You are more observant than they told me humans would be, she said quietly. I suppose it is time you knew the truth. She walked to the living room and sat on the couch. Taehyun followed, his heart pounding. She gestured for him to sit, but he remained standing. I am Velthara, she said. My species has existed in this galaxy for 40,000 years. On Earth, you would call us vampires. The word hung in the air between them. Vampires. Taehyun felt the world tilt slightly. This was real. He had married a vampire. An alien vampire. A creature from nightmare stories that turned out to be real and living in his apartment. Are you going to hurt me? He managed to ask. No, Hana said firmly. My people have not hunted intelligent species for thousands of years. We are civilized. I drink synthetic blood. She gestured to the kitchen. That is what you saw. Laboratory-made nutrition. Taehyun sat down heavily in the chair across from her. His mind struggled to process this information. Vampires were real. They were aliens. One of them had married him. His ordinary, boring life had just become very complicated. Taehyun did not sleep that night. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Hana sat in a chair by the window. She had offered to leave, to sleep in the spare room, to give him space. He told her to stay. If they were going to figure this out, running away would not help. Tell me everything, he said into the darkness. I want to understand. Hana was quiet for a moment. Then she began to speak. Her voice was soft but clear in the silent room. My full name is Lady Hana of House Irith, she said. My family is one of the oldest noble bloodlines among the Velthara. We have guided our people for 15,000 years. Taehyun turned his head to look at her. She sat perfectly still, her eyes reflecting the city lights outside. She looked so human in that moment, so normal, but he knew better now. How old are you? He asked. 273 years by your counting, Hana replied. Though I am considered young among my people. Some of our elders have lived for over 1,000 years. The number was impossible to imagine. She had been alive before his great-great-great-grandparents were born. She had seen centuries pass while barely aging. What did the world look like through eyes that old? Why are you here? Taehyun asked. Why did you agree to marry me? Hana stood and moved to sit on the edge of the bed. She kept a respectful distance, but he could see her face clearly now. She looked sad. The Galactic Assembly wanted to test how humans would react to the more difficult species, she said. Most aliens you have met look strange but are basically friendly. They eat plants or simple proteins. They follow rules you can understand. But some of us are predators. We need blood to survive. Our history is violent. And they sent you to see if I would run away screaming, Taehyun said. Something like that, Hana admitted. But I volunteered. I asked specifically to come to Earth. Your species fascinates me. Why? She smiled slightly. Because you did not panic when the galaxy arrived on your doorstep. 5 years ago, dozens of alien ships appeared in your sky. You learned that you were not alone. That you were actually quite primitive compared to the rest of the universe. Most species would have collapsed into chaos. Some would have attacked out of fear. Others would have retreated and refused contact. But humans did not, Taehyun said. No, Hana agreed. Humans looked up at those ships and said, hello, teach us everything. You adapted faster than any species in recorded history. Within 5 years, you have integrated alien technology, learned new languages, and started forming partnerships with dozens of different cultures. It is remarkable, Taehyun sat up in bed. You studied us. You watched us before first contact. My house has observed Earth for 300 years, Hana said. We wanted to know if humans would be allies or enemies when you finally reached the stars. What we saw impressed us. You are survivors. You are adaptable. You remind us of ourselves when we were young as a species. Young and violent? Taehyun asked. Young and hungry, Hana corrected. Hungry to learn, to grow, to become more than what you were born to be. The Velthara were once simple predators. We hunted in the dark and fed on whatever we could catch. But we evolved. We learned to think, to plan, to dream. We built a civilization that has lasted 40,000 years. When we look at humans, we see that same potential. Taehyun absorbed this. It was strange to think that vampires from space saw something special in humanity. He had always assumed humans were nothing special, just another species trying to survive. So this marriage, he said carefully, it was an experiment. You were testing me to see how I would react when I learned the truth. Yes, Hana said. There was no apology in her voice, just honesty. I could have told you immediately. I chose not to. I wanted to observe you first, to see how you treated someone you thought was human but strange. I was curious if you would be kind or cruel, patient or angry. And what did you learn? Taehyun asked. He felt a flash of anger but pushed it down. Getting emotional would not help. I learned that you are kinder than I expected, Hana said quietly. You never demanded answers. You never invaded my privacy. You gave me space and tried to make me comfortable even when my behavior made no sense. You were patient. I was suspicious, Taehyun said. You were both, Hana replied, which shows wisdom. Blind trust is foolish. But you did not let suspicion turn into hatred? That is rare. They sat in silence for a while. Outside, the city continued its endless noise. Cars and voices and life moving forward while Taehyun's entire understanding of reality shifted. What do you need? He finally asked. The blood, I mean. Do you need human blood? No, Hana said firmly. My people developed synthetic alternatives 5,000 years ago. We no longer need to take blood from living beings. What I drink is manufactured in laboratories. It provides all the nutrients I need. But you could drink real blood, Taehyun said. If you wanted to. Yes, Hana admitted. My body is designed for it. But I choose not to. My people chose to become something better than our instincts demanded. We could have remained monsters. Instead, we became civilized. Taehyun thought about this. It was the same choice humans faced every day. People had instincts to be violent, to be selfish, to take what they wanted. But civilization meant choosing to be better than those instincts. Maybe aliens were not so different after all. Show me, he said suddenly. Hana looked confused. Show you what? Everything you have been hiding, Taehyun said. Your strength, your speed, whatever else you can do. If we are going to make this work, I need to see all of you. No more secrets, Hana studied his face. Then she nodded and stood. She moved to the center of the bedroom. Without warning, she blurred. One moment she was standing still, the next she was across the room. She moved so fast Taehyun barely saw her. Then she was back in front of him. Speed, she said simply. She picked up the heavy wooden dresser with one hand and held it above her head like it was made of paper. Her arm did not even shake. Strength, she said, setting it down gently. Then her eyes changed. They glowed that same amber color he had seen before, but brighter now, more intense. In that glow he saw something ancient and powerful, something that had hunted in darkness for thousands of years before humans had even discovered fire. This is what I am, Hana said. Her voice was different now, deeper and layered with something that made his survival instincts scream at him to run. This is the creature you married, Taehyun's heart pounded. His hands were shaking. Every part of his body wanted to flee, but he forced himself to stand and walk toward her. He stopped just a few feet away, close enough to see the glow in her eyes, close enough that she could grab him in an instant if she wanted. Thank you for showing me, he said quietly. The glow faded from her eyes. Her face softened back into the beautiful woman he had been living with. She looked surprised, maybe even shocked. You are not afraid, she said. It was not a question, more like a statement of disbelief. I am terrified, Taehyun admitted, but fear does not mean I have to run. You showed me what you are because I asked. That takes trust. The least I can do is trust you back. Hana stared at him. Something changed in her expression. The careful mask she had worn since arriving cracked slightly. He saw real emotion there, something vulnerable. Your species is strange, she whispered. Any other being in the galaxy would have fled or attacked. But you stand here and thank me for showing you my fangs. Maybe that is why you found us interesting, Taehyun said. Hana laughed. It was the first genuine laugh he had heard from her, The sound was surprisingly warm and human. Yes, she said. That is exactly why. They stood there in the quiet bedroom, human and vampire, Earth and the stars, two beings from different worlds trying to understand each other. It was not perfect. Taehyun still had 1,000 questions. He was still afraid of what she could do if she wanted to hurt him. But fear and curiosity could exist together. Maybe that was the secret. Maybe that was how humans had survived long enough to reach the stars. I think we should start over, Taehyun said. Hello, my name is Taehyun. I am an architect from Seoul. I like design and coffee and old movies. Hana smiled and played along. Hello, my name is Hana of House Irith. I am a 200-year-old vampire from the Velthura species. I like poetry and music and studying strange alien cultures. They shook hands formally. Her hand was cold, but her grip was gentle. And for the first time since she had arrived, Taehyun felt like maybe this impossible situation might actually work. The next few weeks changed everything. Hana stopped hiding, and Taehyun stopped pretending he was not curious. They fell into a new routine built on honesty instead of secrets. Every evening after Taehyun returned from work, they would sit together and talk. Hana told him stories about her people, about the 40,000 years of Velthara history, about worlds he could barely imagine. In return, he shared human culture with her, things she had observed but never truly understood. We were monsters once, Hana said one night. They sat on the couch with tea for him and her synthetic blood for her. She no longer hid what she drank. True monsters. We hunted in packs on our homeworld. We had no language, no tools, nothing but instinct and hunger. What changed? Taehyun asked. Intelligence, Hana said simply. One day, one of us realized that working together was better than fighting each other. That smarter hunting meant better survival. Intelligence grew from there. Within a few thousand generations, we went from animals to sentient beings. That is how evolution works, Taehyun said. Yes, but for most species it takes millions of years, Hana explained. For the Velthara it happened remarkably fast. There was pressure to evolve or die. Our homeworld was harsh. Only the smartest and strongest survived. Eventually we became both. She pulled up a hologram from her communication device. An image appeared in the air above the coffee table. It showed a creature that looked somewhat like Hana but twisted and monstrous. It had too many teeth, eyes that glowed in the dark and claws instead of fingers. This is what my ancestors looked like 20,000 years ago, Hana said. We have changed a lot. Taehyun studied the image. It was terrifying but also fascinating. You evolved to look more human? We evolved to look less threatening, Hana corrected. When we joined the galactic community, we realized our appearance scared other species. So over thousands of years we selectively bred for softer features. We wanted to be accepted, not feared. But other species still fear you, Taehyun said. He had been reading about the galaxy since Hana's revelation. The Velthara were mentioned often, usually with words like dangerous and powerful. Yes, Hana admitted. We are the Galactic Assembly's enforcers. When laws are broken, when criminals run, when peace is threatened, they send us. We are very good at hunting. It is in our blood. So you are like police? Taehyun asked. More like elite soldiers and diplomats combined, Hana said. My house specifically handles sensitive negotiations. When two species are about to go to war, they send someone from House Irith to mediate. We are trained from childhood in combat, politics and psychology. This explained why those visitors had bowed so deeply to her. She was not just some alien woman. She was nobility, a diplomat and probably a trained killer. Taehyun found it both impressive and slightly terrifying. Why did you really come to Earth, he asked. There must be more important places for someone like you to be. Hana set down her drink and looked at him seriously. Because humanity is the most important thing happening in the galaxy right now. Most species take millions of years to reach space. You did it in a few thousand. That is unheard of. It is unprecedented. It is frightening to some. Frightening, Taehyun repeated. Think about it, Hana said. Humans went from discovering fire to building spaceships faster than any species in recorded history. You adapt incredibly quickly. You learn from anyone who will teach you. You are curious about everything. And most importantly, you are not afraid of things that are different from you. I was afraid when I learned about you, Taehyun pointed out. But you did not run, Hana said. That is the difference. Fear is natural. How you respond to fear is what matters. Humans feel fear and then ask questions. Other species feel fear and attack or retreat. She pulled up another hologram. This one showed dozens of species, all different shapes and sizes. Every one of these species panicked during first contact. Some hid for centuries. Others attacked the peaceful scouts. A few committed suicide because they could not handle learning they were not alone. But humans? She smiled. Humans threw parties. You celebrated meeting us. Within a year you had learned basic galactic standard language and were asking to join the assembly. Maybe we are just naive, Tae-hyun said. No, Hana said firmly. You are brave. There is a difference. Some species call you the fearless ones. It is not meant as praise by everyone. Some are jealous. Others are worried. Worried about what? About what humanity will become, Hana said quietly. In 200 years, some projections show humans spreading across the galaxy faster than any other species. Your adaptability combined with alien technology could make you dominant. That scares species who have held power for thousands of years. Tae-hyun thought about this. It seemed impossible. Humans were so new to all of this. How could they threaten ancient civilizations? The Velthara do not fear us? He asked. No, Hana said. We recognize a kindred spirit. Both our species were predators who chose to become something better. Both adapted rapidly to survive. I think humans and Velthara could be strong allies. That is why my house supports integration. Over the following days, Hana shared more of her culture. She played Velthara music, which sounded like wind through crystal caves. She showed him art that seemed to move and breathe. She taught him basic words in her language, sounds that humans were barely capable of making. In return, Tae-hyun introduced her to Korean cinema. They watched old films late into the night. Hana became fascinated with human storytelling. You make art about your fears, she observed after watching a thriller. You create stories where humans face terrible things and overcome them. Why? Because it helps us process fear, Tae-hyun explained. We tell stories about monsters so we can learn how to face real dangers. Stories are how we practice being brave. Hana looked at him with new understanding. That is why you were not paralyzed when you learned about me. You have been preparing for monsters your entire lives through stories. I guess so, Tae-hyun said. He had never thought about it that way before. One evening, Hana asked if he had any music he loved. He put on some old jazz recordings. She closed her eyes and listened with complete focus. When the song ended, she looked at him with wonder in her eyes. This is beautiful, she whispered. It sounds like controlled chaos, like taking disorder and making it into art. That is exactly what jazz is, Tae-hyun said, pleased she understood. Humans take terrible things and make them beautiful, Hana said softly. You were slaves and created this music to survive. You were divided and created art that brings you together. I have lived 200 years and studied dozens of species. None do this quite like humans do. They sat in comfortable silence listening to the music. For the first time since Hana arrived, Tae-hyun felt truly comfortable with her. She was not just his alien wife. She was becoming his friend. I am glad I married you, he said suddenly. Hana turned to look at him, surprise on her face. Really? Even though I am a vampire? Even though I hid the truth from you? Yes, Tae-hyun said. You are interesting. You make me think about things differently. And you are trying to understand humans just like I am trying to understand you. That seems like a good foundation for a marriage, even if it started strangely. Hana smiled. It was warm and genuine. You are not what I expected when I came to Earth. What did you expect? Tae-hyun asked. Someone afraid who pretended not to be afraid, Hana said. Someone who would tolerate me out of obligation but never truly accept me. Instead, I found someone who faces fear with curiosity. Someone who sees a vampire and asks questions instead of running. You are remarkable, Tae-hyun. He felt his face grow warm. I am just an architect. No, Hana said. You are a human, and I am learning that is something special. Outside, Seoul continued its endless rhythm. Inside, a human and a vampire sat together listening to jazz, two beings from different worlds finding common ground. It was a small moment, insignificant in the grand scale of the galaxy. But to both of them it felt important. It felt like the beginning of something that could change everything. Tell me more about House Irith, Tae-hyun said. Hana's eyes lit up. She loved talking about her family. As she spoke, Describing centuries of history and tradition, Tae-hyun listened carefully. He was learning that understanding came from listening, and understanding was the first step toward something that might become love. The galaxy was vast and strange and full of wonders. But right now in this small apartment in Seoul, two people were building a bridge between worlds. One conversation at a time, one shared moment at a time, they were proving that different did not mean enemy. It meant possibility. 3 months passed. Tae-hyun and Hana settled into a life that almost felt normal. He went to work designing buildings. She studied human culture and attended diplomatic meetings. They had dinner together every evening, though she never ate his food. They talked and laughed and slowly became more than just two strangers forced together by politics. Then everything changed on a Tuesday. Morning, Tae-hyun was drinking coffee and reading news on his tablet when someone knocked on the door. It was not the gentle knock of a neighbor. It was urgent and loud. He opened the door to find a human man in an expensive suit standing in the hallway. The man looked worried. "Are you Tae-hyun?" the man asked in Korean. "Yes," Tae-hyun replied cautiously. "My name is Daewon. I am the human ambassador to the Galactic Assembly," the man said quickly. "I need to speak with you and Lady Hana immediately." "It is urgent." Hana appeared behind Tae-hyun. She must have heard the conversation. "Ambassador Daewon," she said formally. "Please come in." They sat in the living room. Ambassador Daewon looked nervous. He kept glancing at Hana with a mixture of respect and fear. Tae-hyun understood. Even after months of living with her, he sometimes forgot how powerful she was. Others did not have that luxury. "There is a problem," Daewon said. "A faction in the Galactic Assembly opposes human integration. They are gaining support. They believe humanity is dangerous and should be isolated from the rest of the galaxy." "Who leads this faction?" Hana asked. Her voice was calm, but Tae-hyun heard the edge in it. "The Karathi Empire primarily," Daewon said. "They are a militant species. Very traditional. They do not like change. Humanity represents too much change too quickly for them." "The Karathi are afraid," Hana said. It was not a question. "Yes," Daewon agreed. "And they are not alone. Several species support them. They are making arguments that humans are unpredictable, that we adapt too fast, that we could become a threat, and they point to marriages like yours as proof that humans do not understand what they are getting into. They think we are being manipulated," Tae-hyun said. "Understanding?" "Exactly," Daewon confirmed. "They claim that powerful species like the Velthara are using humans for their own purposes. They say we are too naive to see we are being controlled." Hana's expression hardened. "That is insulting to both species." "I agree," Daewon said. "But insults are the least of our problems. Intelligence suggests the Karathi might do more than just talk. There are rumors of plans to send a message, something dramatic that would turn galactic opinion against human integration." "What kind of message?" Tae-hyun asked, though he was afraid he already knew the answer. "They might target human-alien couples," Daewon said quietly. "Especially high-profile ones. A Velthara noble married to a human architect working on the cultural center. You two are symbols of everything they oppose." The room went silent. Tae-hyun felt cold fear settle in his stomach. He looked at Hana. Her face was unreadable, but her eyes had that amber glow he had learned meant she was angry. "When?" Hana asked. "We do not know," Daewon admitted. "Maybe soon. Maybe never. But I had to warn you. You should consider moving to a secure location. The assembly can provide protection." "No," Tae-hyun said. Both of them turned to look at him. "If we hide, we prove their point. We show that humans and aliens cannot live together normally. We give them exactly what they want. You could die," Daewon said bluntly. "I could die crossing the street," Tae-hyun replied. "Fear is not a reason to stop living." Hana stared at him. Something shifted in her expression. Pride maybe, or respect, or something else he could not name. "He is right," she said to Daewon. "We will not hide. But we will be careful. Thank you for the warning, Ambassador." Daewon looked like he wanted to argue but knew it would not help. He left them with his contact information and a promise to update them if he learned anything new. After he left, Hana stood at the window looking out at the city. "You should leave," she said quietly. "I can annul the marriage. You can be protected separately. There is no reason for you to be in danger because of me." "No," Tae-hyun said firmly. He walked over to stand beside her. "I made a choice when I agreed to understand who you are. I'm not backing out now just because it got dangerous. This is not a game," Hana said. Her voice was harder now. more like the warrior he knew she was trained to be. The Karathi are experienced killers. If they come for us, it will not be a fair fight. Then teach me, Tae-hyun said. You are a trained fighter. Show me how to defend myself. I am not asking to be helpless. Hana turned to look at him. She studied his face for a long moment. Then slowly she nodded. Very well. But you need to understand something, Tae-hyun. If they come, I will do whatever is necessary to protect you. I will become the monster they fear. Can you accept that? He thought about her question. Could he accept seeing her as the predator she was bred to be? Could he handle watching her hurt or kill others to keep him safe? He was not sure, but he knew one thing clearly. You protected me by telling me the truth, he said. You respected me enough to show me what you really are. The least I can do is trust you to do what is necessary. I will not judge you for surviving. Something in Hana's expression softened. Your species really is remarkable. That night it happened. Tae-hyun woke to the sound of breaking glass. He sat up immediately, his heart racing. Hana was already out of bed, moving toward the bedroom door. She moved like liquid shadow, silent and fast. Stay here, she commanded. Her voice had changed. This was not his wife speaking. This was a Velthera warrior, but Tae-hyun did not stay. He got out of bed and followed her quietly. He could hear sounds from the living room, multiple footsteps, heavy breathing, the click of weapons being prepared. He reached the hallway just in time to see 6 figures in dark armor burst into the apartment. They had guns, real military weapons. They were not here to talk. They were here to kill. Hana stood in the center of the living room. She looked small and fragile in her sleeping clothes. But Tae-hyun knew better. He saw the way she stood, balanced and ready. He saw her eyes glowing bright amber in the darkness. Leave now, Hana said calmly. This is your only warning. One of the armored figures laughed. We do not take orders from blood drinkers. Then you will die, Hana said simply. What happened next was almost too fast for Tae-hyun to follow. Hana moved like lightning. She crossed the distance to the first attacker in a blink. Her hand shot out and the figure flew backward into the wall hard enough to crack the plaster. The gun clattered to the floor. The other 5 opened fire. Tae-hyun's heart stopped. But Hana was not there anymore. She was behind them, moving faster than bullets. She grabbed 2 of them by their helmets and slammed them together. They dropped like stones. The remaining 3 tried to surround her. It did not help. She jumped over one, kicking him in the back as she flipped through the air. She landed gracefully and swept the legs out from under another. The last one tried to run, but she caught him by the collar and threw him into the couch hard enough to flip it over. The entire fight lasted maybe 30 seconds. 6 trained soldiers lay unconscious or groaning on his floor. Hana stood among them, not even breathing hard. Her eyes still glowed amber. She looked every bit the ancient predator she was. Then she saw Tae-hyun standing in the hallway. The glow faded from her eyes. She looked almost embarrassed. I told you to stay in the bedroom, she said. I know, Tae-hyun said. His voice shook slightly. I wanted to help. You did help, Hana said gently. You trusted me to protect us. Police and assembly security arrived within minutes. Day 1 came too, looking both relieved and worried. The attackers were confirmed as Karathi agents. This was now an official incident, an act of war against integration. As officials processed the scene and arrested the unconscious attackers, Tae-hyun stood with Hana on their small balcony. The city lights spread out before them. Everything looked normal out there, but nothing was normal anymore. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? Hana asked. For protecting me, Tae-hyun said. For being who you are. For not holding back. Hana looked at him seriously. I was a monster in there. I hurt people. Does that not frighten you? You were a warrior protecting your home, Tae-hyun corrected. There is a difference. And no, it does not frighten me. It makes me grateful that you are on my side. Hana smiled slightly. Humans do not abandon their partners. That is what you told me once. That is who we are, Tae-hyun agreed. They stood together in the cold night air, human and vampire, watching the city sleep. Somewhere out there enemies were planning. Somewhere people were afraid of what they represented. But here in this moment they were just 2 people who had chosen to stand together. And that choice, Tae-hyun realized, was the most human thing he could do. The attack changed everything. Security was increased around their apartment building. Ambassador Daewon visited regularly with updates. The Galactic Assembly was investigating, but politics moved slowly. Meanwhile, Taehyun and Hana had to live with the knowledge that someone wanted them dead. Hana insisted on training him. Every morning before work, they spent 2 hours in the apartment's small gym. She taught him how to move, how to think, how to survive. "You will never be as fast as a Velthera," she said on the first day. "You will never be as strong. So you must be smarter. You must use your environment. You must think 3 steps ahead." Taehyun learned quickly that fighting was not like movies showed. It was exhausting and painful and required constant thinking. Hana did not go easy on him. She threw him, tripped him, and knocked him down again and again. Each time she made him analyze what went wrong. "You telegraphed your punch," she would say. "I saw it coming from a mile away. Again." Or, "You focused on my hands and forgot about my feet. A mistake that would get you killed." Again. It was brutal. But gradually, Taehyun improved. He learned to read body language, to anticipate attacks, to use his smaller size as an advantage. He would never beat Hana in a fair fight, but he was learning how to survive long enough for help to arrive. "Better," she said after he managed to dodge 3 of her strikes in a row. "You are thinking now instead of just reacting." Beyond physical training, Hana taught him about alien technology. She gave him a personal shield device, a small disc that attached to his belt. If activated, it would create a protective barrier around him for 30 seconds. Not long, but enough time to escape or hide. "This is military-grade equipment," she explained. "Technically, I am not supposed to give this to civilians, but I would rather break rules than attend your funeral." She also gave him a communication device that was far more advanced than anything humans had created. It could translate dozens of languages instantly, contact emergency services across the galaxy, and send distress signals that would reach Velthera military units in seconds. "If something happens and I cannot protect you, press this button." Hana showed him a red symbol on the device. "My house will send help immediately. They owe me several favors." Taehyun was learning that being married to Velthera nobility had advantages. Hana had resources, connections, and a family that, while terrifying, was also fiercely loyal to their own. One evening, Hana received a message on her communication device. She read it and smiled slightly. "We have been invited to dinner," she said. "There is another mixed couple in Seoul. Jiwoo is human like you. Her partner Ray is also Velthera. They want to meet us." Taehyun was surprised. He thought they were the only ones dealing with this situation. Knowing others existed made him feel less alone. They met Jiwoo and Ray at a quiet restaurant that catered to mixed-species couples. The space had different areas for different dietary needs. Jiwoo was a doctor, confident and friendly. Ray was taller than Hana with silver hair instead of black. They had been married for 2 years. "You are the ones who fought off the Karathi attackers," Jiwoo said immediately. That was impressive. Terrifying, but impressive. "We did what we had to," Taehyun said modestly. "Do not be modest," Ray said. Her voice was similar to Hana's, musical and layered. 6 trained Karathi soldiers against 1 Velthara. Those are bad odds even for us. And you survived witnessing it without running away. That takes courage. Over dinner, they shared stories. Jiwoo and Ray had faced different challenges. Their families had objected to the marriage. They had dealt with discrimination from both humans who feared aliens and aliens who looked down on humans, but they had made it work through patience and determination. "The key is communication," Jiwoo explained. "Ray thinks in centuries. I think in decades. We had to learn to bridge that gap. She had to accept that I will age and die long before her. I had to accept that she has lived through events I only read about in history books." "How do you handle that?" Taehyun asked. The age difference was something he tried not to think about too much. Hana would live for centuries after he was gone. "We focus on now," Ray said simply. "I have centuries of memories. But the memory I will treasure most is this lifetime with Jiwoo. Quality matters more than quantity." It was a good answer. It made Taehyun feel better about his own situation. Before they left, Jiwoo gave them contact information for a network of mixed couples. "We are forming a support group," she explained. "There are maybe 20 couples in Korea alone, hundreds across Earth. We share information, help each other, and stand together when threats arise." "Safety in numbers," Hana observed. "Exactly," Jiwoo agreed. "The Karathi and others target us because we are vulnerable individually. Together we are harder to intimidate." Over the next few weeks, Taehyun and Hana met more couples. There was Hyun Soo, a teacher married to a crystalline Lithuanian named Vera who communicated through light patterns. There was Bora, an engineer married to a massive four-armed Thaxian named Cole who was surprisingly gentle. Each couple had their own story, their own challenges, their own reasons for making an unlikely partnership work. What struck Taehyun most was how normal it all felt. Yes, their partners were alien. Yes, they faced unique challenges. But the core of each relationship was the same. Two people choosing to understand each other, to adapt, to build something together. "We are pioneers," Bora said at one gathering. "Future generations will look back at us as the people who proved different species could build lives together." That is pretty cool. Meanwhile, Taehyun continued his work at the Cultural Center. The building was nearly complete. It would house museums, meeting spaces, and diplomatic offices. It was designed to be welcoming to dozens of different species, with varying gravity zones, atmosphere controls, and accessibility features. His human colleagues treated him differently now. Some with respect, some with fear, some with jealousy. Everyone knew he was married to a Velthara noble. Everyone knew about the attack. He had become famous in a way he never wanted. How do you deal with it? His friend and co-worker Min asked over lunch. Living with something that could kill you with one hand? "Hana would never hurt me," Taehyun said confidently. "But she could," Min pressed. "Does that not scare you?" Taehyun thought about it. "I could be hit by a car tomorrow. I could have a heart attack. A building could collapse. Life is full of things that could kill me, at least with Hana. I know she would die before letting harm come to me." How many people can say that about their spouse? Min did not have an answer to that. One evening, Taehyun came home to find Hana pacing the apartment. She looked worried, which was unusual for her. "What is wrong?" he asked immediately. "I received word from the assembly," Hana said. "There is going to be a vote. They are deciding whether to continue human integration or isolate Earth. The vote happens in 3 months." "What does that mean for us?" Taehyun asked. "It means everything we have been building could end," Hana said. "If the vote goes badly, marriages like ours could be annulled. Humans would be sent back to Earth. All contact would be severely limited. You would be trapped on one planet while the rest of the galaxy moves forward without you." Taehyun sat down heavily. "Can we do anything?" "We can be examples," Hana said. "We can show that human-alien partnerships work. We can prove that integration benefits everyone, but words only go so far. The assembly respects action." "Then we take action," Taehyun said. "We do not just sit here waiting for others to decide our future. We fight for what we have built." Hana looked at him with that expression he was learning meant she was proud. "This is why I chose Earth. This is why I believe in humanity. You do not accept defeat. You do not wait for permission. You take your future into your own hands." "Is that a human thing?" Taehyun asked. "It is a survivor thing," Hana said. "The Velthara have it too. But we learned it over thousands of years. Humans seem to be born knowing it." That night they contacted the other mixed couples. They formed a plan. They would organize events showing successful integration. They would invite media, politicians, and assembly representatives. They would prove through their existence that different species could not only coexist but thrive together. It was a small rebellion, quiet and peaceful. But sometimes the most powerful revolutions happen not through violence, but through simply refusing to give up. Taehyun was learning that courage came in many forms. Sometimes it meant fighting off attackers. Sometimes it meant standing up and saying, "We belong here," even when powerful forces said otherwise. As he lay in bed that night, Hana beside him reading reports on her holographic display, Taehyun realized something important. He was no longer afraid of her. He was not afraid of the future either. Whatever came, they would face it together. Human and Velthara. Earth and the stars. Two people who refused to let fear win. That, he thought, was the most human thing of all. 2 months before the vote, strange things started happening. Small things at first. Messages would arrive at Taehyun's work warning him to leave his wife. Anonymous threats appeared online. Someone tried to break into their apartment building twice, though security stopped them both times. Hana grew more tense with each incident. She spent hours on her communication device speaking in rapid Velthara to contacts across the galaxy. She was investigating something but would not tell Taehyun what until she was certain. Finally, one evening she gathered him and their network of mixed couples for a meeting. They met in a secure room at the Cultural Center, a space designed to block all outside surveillance. 20 people sat around a large table, 10 humans and 10 aliens of various species. "I have discovered something troubling," Hana began without introduction. "The Karathi are not working alone. There is a conspiracy involving multiple species. They are coordinating their efforts to remove humanity from the Galactic Assembly." "We knew they opposed us," Jiwoo said. "What makes this different?" Hana activated a holographic display. Images and documents appeared, floating in the air above the table. "House Irith has intelligence networks throughout the galaxy. We have been monitoring communications. What we found is alarming." She pulled up a chart showing connections between different species governments. Red lines linked them together. The Karathi, the Vexen Republic, the Toral Collective, and 6 smaller governments, all coordinating secretly, all sharing resources, all focused on one goal: getting rid of humans, Taehyun said quietly. "Yes," Hana confirmed. "But the reasons are more complex than simple prejudice. They have run projections, computer models showing what happens if human integration continues." She pulled up another image. It showed a map of the galaxy with different colors representing different species. As the simulation played forward in time, one color began spreading faster than others. "Blue for humanity. In 200 years," Hana explained, "models predict humans will have colonies on thousands of worlds. In 500 years, humanity could be one of the dominant species in the galaxy. Not through conquest, but through adaptation and growth." "Why is that bad?" Hyunsu asked. "The galaxy is huge. There is room for everyone. Resources are not infinite," Ray answered. "Prime planets for colonization are limited. Trade routes are contested. Political power is a zero-sum game. If humans rise, other species fall in relative terms." "They are afraid," Vera said. Her light patterns pulsed with anger. "They fear losing what they have." "Exactly," Hana agreed. "The conspiracy members are all species that currently hold significant power. They have been influential for thousands of years. Humanity threatens to disrupt the existing order." Taehyun stared at the projection. It seemed impossible. Humans had only been in space for 5 years. How could they threaten ancient civilizations? "What makes them think we will expand so fast?" he asked. Hana pulled up another document. "Human population growth rate combined with faster-than-light travel capability. Human curiosity and willingness to settle in difficult environments. Your species' incredible adaptability. When they feed these factors into their models, the results frighten them. So they want to stop us before we become too powerful," Bora said bitterly. "Yes," Hana said. "And their plan has 3 parts. First, turn galactic opinion against humanity through propaganda. Make you seem dangerous and unpredictable. Second, sabotage integration efforts. Attack mixed couples, disrupt cultural exchanges, create incidents that can be blamed on humans. Third, win the vote to isolate Earth." "And if all that fails?" Cole asked. His deep voice rumbled through the room. Hana's expression darkened. "Then they escalate. More attacks, possibly worse. They want to force the Assembly to act against humanity for security reasons." The room fell silent. The implications were staggering. This was not just about prejudice or fear of the unknown. This was calculated political maneuvering by powerful entities who saw humanity as a threat to their future. "What can we do?" Jiwoo finally asked. "We are just 20 people. They are entire governments with armies and resources. We expose them," Hana said firmly. "We gather evidence and present it to the Assembly. We prove this is a conspiracy, not legitimate concern. We force them to defend their actions publicly." "Will that work?" Min asked skeptically. "It is our best chance," Ray said. "The Assembly has laws against this kind of manipulation. If we can prove conspiracy, the member species involved will face sanctions. More importantly, it will undermine their credibility when the vote happens." "How do we gather evidence?" Taehyun asked. He was already thinking like an architect, planning the structure of their investigation. "House Irith has already gathered much of it," Hana said. "But we need more. We need recorded communications, financial transactions showing coordination, testimony from insiders. That is where you come in." She looked around the table at each person. "You have connections these conspirators do not expect. Human diplomats, alien partners with access to government facilities, people who can move quietly and ask questions without raising suspicion. Together we can build a case." Over the next 6 weeks, their group became investigators. Tae-hyun used his position at the cultural center to access visitor logs and communication records. Ji-woo spoke with medical personnel who treated victims of suspicious accidents. Hyun-soo analyzed financial data looking for unusual transactions. Their alien partners provided access to systems humans could not reach. Ray infiltrated Karathi diplomatic channels. Vera used her species' network of light-based communications to intercept coded messages. Cole's size and strength allowed him to protect the others while they worked. Slowly, piece by piece, they built their case. They discovered that the Karathi had paid agents to attack mixed couples. They found communications proving the conspiracy members were coordinating their propaganda. They traced money flowing from government accounts to extremist groups on multiple worlds. But the most damning evidence came from an unexpected source. A young Karathi diplomat named Tesh contacted them through anonymous channels. She was horrified by what her government was doing and wanted to help. "My people are afraid," Tesh explained through a secure video link. "But fear does not justify conspiracy and violence. I have access to the planning documents. I can provide them to you. Why risk this?" Tae-hyun asked. "You could be arrested for treason." "Because this is already treason," Tesh said firmly. "Treason against the ideals the assembly was founded on. Peace and cooperation between species. My government has forgotten that." "I will not." Tesh provided documents that laid out the entire conspiracy, meeting minutes, strategy papers, attack plans, everything they needed to prove coordinated action against humanity. With all the evidence compiled, Hana sent it to her family. House Erith reviewed it carefully. Then they did something unexpected. They called for an emergency session of the Assembly Council before the scheduled vote. "They are forcing the issue," Ambassador Daewon explained when he visited. "By presenting evidence publicly, they are putting the conspiracy members in a defensive position. They will have to respond." "Is that dangerous?" Tae-hyun asked. "Very," Daewon admitted. "If the conspirators feel cornered, they might do something desperate." House Erith is essentially declaring that they stand with humanity completely. That is a bold political move. That night, Tae-hyun and Hana sat on their balcony looking at the stars. Somewhere up there, decisions were being made that would affect billions of lives. "Your family is risking a lot for us," Tae-hyun said quietly. "House Erith does not make decisions lightly," Hana replied. "We have watched humanity for 300 years. We believe you deserve your place among the stars. More than that, we believe you will make the galaxy better. That is worth risking our political capital." "What if we fail?" Tae-hyun asked. "What if the vote goes against us anyway?" Hana was quiet for a moment. "Then we fight harder. Humans are not the only ones who refuse to give up. The Velthara recognize determination when we see it, and we respect it." She took his hand. Her skin was cold as always, but her grip was strong and steady. "I chose to come to Earth," she said. "I chose to marry you. I choose every day to stand beside you. That will not change regardless of what some politicians decide." Tae-hyun squeezed her hand back. "Thank you. For what?" "For believing in us," he said. "For believing in me. I was just an architect. Now I am part of something bigger." "You gave me that." "No," Hana corrected gently. "You were always part of something bigger. You just did not realize it yet. Every human is part of humanity's story, and your story is just beginning." They sat together in comfortable silence. The city lights spread below them and stars spread above them. Between Earth and the heavens, between past and future, two people held hands and refused to let fear win. The conspiracy was exposed. The evidence was gathered. The emergency session was scheduled. Soon the entire galaxy would watch as humanity's fate was debated. But whatever happened, Tae-hyun knew one thing with complete certainty. He would not face it alone. And neither would humanity. They had allies now, friends among the stars, and proof that different species could stand together against those who chose fear over hope. That had to count for something. That had to be enough. He hoped it would be enough. The emergency session was scheduled on Axis Prime, a massive space station that served as neutral ground for the Galactic Assembly. Thousands of delegates from hundreds of species would attend. The fate of human integration would be decided in one day. Tae-hyun and Hana traveled there with Ambassador Daewon and a small group of other mixed couples. The journey through faster-than-light space still amazed Tae-hyun. He pressed his face against the viewport, watching stars blur past. 6 months ago, he had never left Earth. Now he was traveling between solar systems. Nervous? Hana asked, sitting beside him. Terrified, Taehyun admitted. What if speaking in front of the entire assembly fails? What if the evidence is not enough? Then we will know we tried, Hana said simply. That is all anyone can do. Try and hope it is enough. Axis Prime was beautiful and overwhelming. The station was the size of a small moon, built over thousands of years by dozens of species. Each section reflected different architectural styles and cultural preferences. Some areas had high gravity for heavy worlders. Others had water-filled chambers for aquatic species. Some were bathed in radiation that would kill humans instantly. They were housed in the human-compatible section with extra security. House Irith had sent guards, tall Velthera warriors who watched the corridors with glowing amber eyes. Other mixed couples had arrived too, over 100 now from all over Earth. They had come to support each other and witness history. The night before the session, Taehyun could not sleep. He walked through the station's observation deck, staring out at the stars and the massive ships docked at the station. So many species, so many worlds, so much he still did not understand. Beautiful, is it not? A voice said behind him. He turned to find an elderly Karathi standing there. She was smaller than the soldiers who had attacked them. With silver scales and kind eyes, she wore diplomatic robes marked with symbols of peace. I am Elder Sana, she said in accented but clear Korean. I lead the Karathi peace faction. I wanted to apologize for what some of my people did to you. You do not need to apologize for others' choices, Taehyun said carefully. Perhaps not, Elder Sana agreed. But I am ashamed nonetheless. Fear makes people do terrible things. My people are very afraid of change. We have existed for 20,000 years with minimal change. The thought of the galaxy shifting so quickly terrifies us. Why are you telling me this? Taehyun asked. Because fear is not an excuse for cruelty, Elder Sana said firmly. And because I want you to know that not all Karathi support what was done. Many of us believe humanity deserves their chance among the stars. Tomorrow I will speak in favor of integration. Thank you, Taehyun said sincerely. That means more than you know. Elder Sana smiled. You saved a Karathi child during the conspiracy planning, did you not? When debris fell during their attack on the station's outer ring, you pulled her to safety even though you knew her species was trying to hurt you. Taehyun remembered. During one of the incidents, a young Karathi girl had been in the wrong place at the wrong time. Instinct had taken over. He had not thought about her species, just that she needed help. She was a child, Taehyun said simply. That is all that mattered. Yes, Elder Sana agreed. That is exactly the point. You saw a person, not an enemy. That is what gives me hope for the future. Good night, young architect. I will see you tomorrow. She left him standing there thinking about her words. Maybe that was the key. Seeing people instead of categories, individuals instead of species. It seemed so simple, yet apparently it was revolutionary. The next morning, the assembly chamber was filled to capacity. Thousands of beings of every shape and size imaginable gathered to witness the session. Taehyun sat with the other humans in a designated section. Hana and the other Velthara sat in their own area, split by protocol, but united in purpose. The session began with formal procedures. Representatives from House Irith presented their evidence. Holographic displays showed communications, financial records, and testimony. The conspiracy was laid bare for all to see. The accused species tried to defend themselves. They claimed misunderstandings, miscommunications, legitimate security concerns. But the evidence was damning. Even their allies began to distance themselves as the truth became clear. Then came the testimony phase. Representatives from species supporting human integration spoke. Elder Sana gave a powerful speech about fear versus courage. A Letheran philosopher spoke about the value of diversity. A Thaxian general testified that humans had valuable skills that could benefit the entire assembly. Finally, it was time for humans to speak. Ambassador Daewon would give the main address. But he had asked Tae-hyun to share his personal story first, to put a face to the issue, to show that integration was not abstract politics, but real lives. Tae-hyun walked to the speaking platform. His legs felt weak. Thousands of alien eyes watched him. Cameras broadcast this to billions across the galaxy. He was nobody special, just an architect from Seoul. What could he possibly say that would matter? Then he saw Hana in the crowd. She nodded once, encouraging. He thought about everything they had been through together, the fear and the growth, the attacks and the alliance, the differences that had become bridges instead of walls. He began to speak. My name is Tae-hyun. 6 months ago, I agreed to an arranged marriage with an alien I had never met. I did it for practical reasons. Benefits for my family. Economic opportunity. I did not expect to learn anything or change as a person. I definitely did not expect to care about galactic politics. He paused, gathering his thoughts. But then I met my wife, Lady Hana of House Irith, and everything changed. I learned that she was Velthera, a species that many fear. I was afraid too. I would be lying if I said otherwise. But I chose to face that fear with questions instead of running away. The chamber was completely silent. Tae-hyun took a breath and continued. Through her, I learned about the galaxy. I learned about species with 20,000-year histories. I learned about civilizations older than human written language. And I realized something important. Humans are not special because we are better than anyone else. We are special because we are willing to learn from anyone else. He looked directly at the section where the conspiracy members sat. Some of you see humanity as a threat. You look at projections showing us spreading across the galaxy, and you fear losing your position. I understand that fear. But you are making a mistake. You are assuming that humanity's growth means your decline. That is not how we think. Tae-hyun activated the holographic display beside him. He showed images from Earth. Cities where multiple species now live together. Schools where human children learned alongside alien children. Research centers where scientists from different worlds collaborated. Look at what we are building, he said. Not human dominance, not alien submission, partnership. We are not trying to replace anyone. We are trying to join you, to contribute, to learn and teach and grow together. He pulled up another image, this one from just hours ago. It showed Elder Sana speaking with a human delegate, both smiling. This conspiracy tried to kill me because I represent integration. But they failed to understand something. You cannot kill an idea whose time has come. You cannot stop change through violence. All you do is prove why change is necessary. Tae-hyun's voice grew stronger. I am not a politician or a warrior or anyone important. I am just a man who chose to stand beside his partner when things got dangerous. Who chose curiosity over fear. Who chose to believe that different does not mean enemy. If I can do that, any human can. If humans can do that, maybe the rest of the galaxy can too. He looked around the chamber, meeting as many eyes as he could. We do not ask you to accept us because we are perfect. We are not. We are young, and we make mistakes, and we still have so much to learn. We ask you to accept us because we are trying. Because we want to be part of this grand galactic community. Because we believe that together, all species working as partners, we can build something better than any of us could build alone. Tae-hyun pulled up one final image. It showed his rescue of the young Karathi child during the attack. When I pulled this child to safety, I did not think about politics or species or anything except that someone needed help. That is who humans are. We see someone in trouble, and we help. We see something broken and we try to fix it. We see differences and we ask how we can learn from them. He stepped back from the platform. Judge us by our actions, not your fears. Give us the chance to prove that we belong among the stars. That is all we ask. A chance. The chamber erupted. Some species stood and applauded. Others shouted objections. Still others sat in thoughtful silence. Tae-hyun walked back to his seat on shaking legs. He had done his best. The rest was out of his hands. But then something happened that no one expected. Alarms began blaring throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed. A voice announced through the communication system that there was a hull breach in Sector 7. Multiple breaches, actually. The station was under attack. Chaos erupted. Delegates scrambled for exits. Security forces rushed toward the threatened sections. Through the viewports, Tae-hyun saw ships approaching. They were firing on the station. The conspirators had decided that if they could not win politically, they would win through force.